In this example, I've got a Windows 11 laptop, but look what I can do. In Windows 11, I can search for Ubuntu. Select the Ubuntu 20.04 app, and notice I'm running Ubuntu directly on Windows 11. It was as quick as that to start Ubuntu on my Windows computer. Do it again. So close Ubuntu down. I've actually got it as an app on my taskbar. Select that. Here's Ubuntu. Cat, etc. LSB release. I'm running Ubuntu 20.04 LTS. Before I continue, however, please note Microsoft are not paying me to create this video. This is not a sponsored video. I'm just showing you the updates to Windows Subsystem for Linux, or WSL, to show you that it's got a lot better. But this is probably what you're going to be interested in. I'm running Ubuntu on Windows 11, but notice I can run graphical user applications such as gedit directly as a window within Windows 11. So this is Linux. I'll save that file. So save as test1. Press enter. File is saved. Open up my CLI. ls shows me that the file exists there. Cat test1. Notice there's my file called This is Linux. I'll clear the screen. Again, my file is there. I'll use Nano, basic text editor, and say this is Linux, but is running on Windows 11. Control X, save the file. Cat test1 once again. But let's use gedit to open that file. I've opened it as an application on Windows. I can copy that, and notice I could copy that to a Windows application such as Notepad. Paste this in. That's Notepad running on Windows, and this is gedit running on Linux. I could change this and say this is Windows with Linux in WSL. Control A, Control C, Control A, Control V. Exit and save the file. Clear the screen, or rather clear the screen. ls shows me my file. Cat test1. There is the file. But as they say, there is more. Not only are graphical applications supported, but so is sound. I could search and say, which browser am I using? And notice here, I'm told that I'm using Linux. Now, if you don't believe me, let's just download Chrome and let's see which version of Chrome is downloaded. So if I click download Chrome, I'm asked whether I want to download the Linux version of Chrome. I've got Chrome running here as well. And if I say download Chrome and say download Chrome, notice an exe is downloaded. So this is the Windows version of Chrome, and this is a Linux version of Chrome. So in the Linux version of Chrome, I'll open up a new tab and go to YouTube. And I could play videos here. So as an example, let's talk about Raspberry Pi. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install Kali or Kali Linux, if you prefer, on a Raspberry Pi. So there you go. I've got graphical applications running directly within Ubuntu on my Windows 11 computer. I could run other applications such as Xcalc. So that's a Linux application. And here's a Windows application. So just to show you this again, I could run gedit ampersand to start up gedit. And I could say cat etc LSB release to see my version of Ubuntu that I'm running. So I've got a graphical user application running on Ubuntu in WSL on my Windows computer. So there are two graphical applications running on Ubuntu, and I could run my Windows applications between them. I could, as an example, copy information from Windows to Ubuntu. And there you go. Now, lots of options are supported with WSL. As an example, I'm not restricted to one version of Ubuntu. I could run multiple versions of Ubuntu. So here I've got Ubuntu 18.04 LTS. So I've got two Ubuntu windows open. Here is 20.04. I could copy that command from one version of Ubuntu into another version. And here I've got 18.04. Ubuntu is not the only operating system that I could run. I could search for the Kali Linux app within Windows. And here's my app. And now, looking at that, there is Kali Linux and two versions of Ubuntu, all running on Windows 11. Now, what's powering this once again is Windows Subsystem for Linux, or WSL. Very simple to get this up and running these days. Jump to the timestamps listed here and below if you want to only look at the installation of WSL on a Windows 11 computer as an example, or Windows 10. Otherwise, continue watching. So in Windows, in PowerShell, I can run this as administrator. You'll need administrative privileges to, for instance, install new operating systems. But notice here, if I type WSL list, I can see the versions of Linux that have been installed on my computer. I can see running versions of Linux. There you go. So those are all running. If I shut down Kali as an example and shut down Ubuntu 18.04, the only version running is 20.04. I was impatient and didn't wait for the other versions to close. So let's do that again. Here's a list of the distributions installed on this computer, and here's the only one that's running. If I search for Ubuntu 18.04 as an example, that will start up, and there you go. It's already started up, sort of instant startup. You can see those two versions are running. Now I can list the versions online. These are the operating systems that I could install. So I could install any one of these. So as an example, I could say install another version of Linux, let's say Debian. So I'll install Debian here. So WSL -- install Debian. And I made a typo there, so let's try that again. So I'll clear the screen. I need to specify the distribution that I want to install. So -D distribution. And that will now download and install Debian on this Windows 11 computer. It's now been installed and starting up. The usernames of your operating systems don't have to be the same. So here I could specify a username of David and log in. But notice if I start up Kali, the username that I've got here is actually a different username. I've specified Kali as my username and password. So different operating systems. I've got, going back to WSL, I've got these operating systems installed on my computer. This is the default. When you install WSL and you use the command WSL -- install, it'll install Ubuntu 20.04 by default, but you could specify another installation to be your default. Use WSL -- help to get help information. Lots of options available here. I've only shown you a few of the commands, but as an example, -- distribution or -D is our distribution. We can specify which ones to install, such as Ubuntu or Debian, as I've demonstrated. You can shut down distributions. Many options available here. But what I wanted to show you here is some of the options available in WSL, such as the integrated GUI and sound available in this version of WSL. What I'll do now is show you how to remove WSL and then how to install it and show you how easy it is to install it. First thing I'll do is I'll shut down the various distributions that I've got running here. As an example, if I search for Debian, I can uninstall that and then uninstall other operating systems if I want to. So I could uninstall Ubuntu as an example and then uninstall Kali. So I'll uninstall those applications Okay, so my applications such as Kali and Ubuntu are removed. I no longer have those operating systems. What I can do now is uninstall Windows features. I'll turn off or on Windows features. The one I want to remove is the Windows subsystem for Linux. I'll click OK. It's now going to make changes to my operating system and ask me to reboot. So I'll restart my computer.
5 minutes later.
And I'll log back in. So now when I start up Windows PowerShell, run it as administrator, and I try to start WSL, I'm basically told that the application is not available. I need to use arguments such as install to install the operating systems. So WSL -list, that command no longer works, but I can do --list online to see Linux operating systems that I can install on my computer. Okay, so to install WSL, it's actually very, very easy. And here's the full process. The prerequisites for WSL are Windows 10 version 2004 and higher, or Windows 11. I'm using Windows 11 in this demonstration. So WinVer shows me that, so I'm okay to install WSL. So to install WSL, you need to run PowerShell as an administrator. Now WSL --list will list anything that's installed at the moment. Nothing's installed, so I'll clear the screen. What I can do, however, is list online versions of operating systems to install. By default, Ubuntu 20.04 will be installed, but I could decide to install something else. So perhaps I only want to install Kali or install one of the other operating systems such as Debian. If you're happy with the default, just specify WSL --install. If you want to install a different distribution, then use -d and the name of the distribution that you want to install. So as an example, something like that. That is the default, however. So all I'm going to use is the command WSL --install, and that'll install the Windows subsystem for Linux. It'll download Ubuntu. It'll make sure that the GUI is ready to be used. So a bunch of stuff will be installed. And once that's installed and the operating system is downloaded, you need to reboot your computer and you'll be ready to go. Okay, so there we go. Operation is successful. Changes will not be effective until the system is rebooted. So what I need to do now is reboot the operating system and we should be ready to go. So in Windows, I'm going to restart the system. System is restarting.
Much later.
Okay, so the computer has rebooted. You can see that Ubuntu has been installed. So once the installation completes, we're told that we need to create a user account. This does not need to be the same as Windows. So I can create a username and a password, and there you go. I've got Ubuntu installed. Version of Ubuntu is 20.04 LTS. In PowerShell, WSL --list shows me the operating systems running. In this case, it's Ubuntu. Notice if I close that down and use WSL without any switches, I'm directly in the Ubuntu operating system. So that's Ubuntu, exit, that's Windows. WSL, enter, that's Linux, exit, that's Windows. So I could run it directly from here, or I could search for the Ubuntu app and run it directly that way as a separate app, and then I could pin it to my taskbar. So all I need to do to start it up is click on the little app, and there you go. I've got Ubuntu. Okay, so next step is how do we get GUI applications installed? First thing we want to do is do a sudo apt update to update our references. Ubuntu is connecting to the internet, updating its references. And once that's done, we can install the various applications that we want. On the Microsoft website, and I'll put a link to these pages below, we're told how we can install Linux GUI apps. First thing you need to do is install a distribution of Linux, which we've done. We've installed Ubuntu 20.04. Next thing we need to do is do a sudo apt update, which we've done. And then we can install applications such as gedit. So I'll copy that. and I'll clear the screen and paste that in. So all we're doing now basically is installing an application, which in this case is gedit. Now the steps for other applications vary. So as an example, VLC can be installed that way. You can install X11 applications. You can install Chrome. Chrome requires a few more steps, but there you go. All the steps are listed on the Microsoft website showing you what to download, the Debian package to download, and then how to install it to get Chrome to work on Linux. For this example, I'll just show you gedit. Okay, and there you go. That's been done now. And all I need to do is type the command gedit, and I'll use ampersand so that I can get my console back. And there you go. I've got gedit running on Windows, but this is a Linux app. So once again, this is Linux. Control A, Control C. Here's Notepad. In Notepad, Control V. This is Windows. Control A, Control V. Save the document as, let's say, test 1. In my console, I'll clear the screen. ls shows me the file. cat test1 shows me the file is created, and I could use nano once again to edit that if I wanted to. Okay, so there you go. I've shown you now how to install WSL on a Windows 11 computer. I've shown you some options with WSL, and I've shown you how to get GUI apps running on WSL. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, please like it. Please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and clicking on the bell to get notifications. That really does help me with the YouTube robots and let you know when I update new content to my channel. I'm uploading a whole bunch of technical content to my YouTube channel. I'm David Bombal, and I want to wish you all the very best.